Mr. Zahid Mubarak, CEO of Metrics, Mr. Zafar Khan, Chair of Pakistan Center for Philanthropy, Ms. Wazir, Chair of the National Commission for the Status of Women, corporate leaders, and in advance I congratulate all the award-winning corporate leaders who will be receiving their recognition tonight. But most importantly for me, of course, are all the young leaders sitting here, both men and women, and I see the ratio tonight as being a pretty healthy ratio as I look out here. Lots of young women here in the corporate sector and in the development sector. So thank you very much, Mr. Zahid Mubarak, for giving this opportunity to be here today with you. I always find this a great inspiration when I'm talking to women in particular. And please, the gentleman may excuse me, but the reason I say that is because usually you don't find a significant percentage of women in the audience in many other sectors, and I can tell you many other platforms which do not pull the women together. And the link here today is what Mr. Zahid Mubarak told me when he called me up more than about 8 weeks ago. He said, we are going to be celebrating International Women's Day. So I thought that would be on the 8th of March, but he said, no, it's going to be on the 15th of April. So that was a little unusual, but I think perhaps he had a private call with Mr. Trump, who might have told them why many of these events in Pakistan had to be postponed. But it's really a pleasure to be here today. DEI is no longer a peripheral initiative. We should see it as a strategic initiative. Organizations that embed inclusion into their core are more innovative, more resilient, and more trusted. They attract better talent, make better decisions. I want to underline that. Often women do make better decisions, and build stronger relationships with the communities that they serve. In this context, I would particularly like to commend not only the outstanding organizations that are here today, who are receiving awards, but many organizations that we are aware of who are moving along the spectrum, who have taken the initiative to actually commit themselves to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And while they may not be award winners, they are on that pathway in Pakistan. And I think if you look back 10 years, you can see a significant shift of the needle. The strength of this recognition and the awards here tonight, which are the global DI benchmarks, they relate to a framework that brings something very critical to our conversation. This is measurement and accountability. And I'd like to underline accountability. Because what gets measured actually gets managed better. And it becomes embedded into the institutional culture and into the institutional systems. And if we truly want to understand the future of inclusion, I would like to say, particularly since I'm an educationist and a development person, that we need to look beyond corporate boardrooms into classrooms, into the education sector, into the health sector, into areas where women are working in development. So inclusion, diversity, and equity is not just about corporate boardrooms. It is certainly across Pakistan, across all its sectors. Today, many more women are entering universities. They're graduating in greater numbers, and often, particularly in the medical sector, they're outperforming their male counterparts. And yet, when you look at leadership, the picture changes. I'll just give you one statistic, particular to Sindh. There are 75 universities in Sindh. Only 11 of them out of 75 have women in leadership positions. Only 11. although the large numbers that are in the education pipeline and in the education stream that are coming out of schools, colleges and universities and entering the education are very large. But very few make it to the leadership positions. And these 11 include not only vice chancellors, but in certain cases deans and registrars as well. So I think that in that sector we particularly need to bring about significant change. In this, particularly at the syndicate level, in the universities, and if you know, the syndicates are corresponding to the boards of the corporate sector because they make most of the decisions. There are only 10% who are represented in 75 universities. So this is really not a pipeline issue because a large number of women are coming into the sector, but this is a progression and recognition issue. So many women are not allowed to progress and they're not recognized. So similarly, while diversity in enrollment has improved, but inclusion still remains a fundamental structural challenge. Students with disabilities continue to face physical and technological barriers. Students from underserved regions and lower socioeconomic backgrounds face access and affordability concerns, and our classrooms still have a great deal of room to grow in representing the rich cultural, ethnic and linguistic diversity of Pakistan. I want to say also that rules, regulations and policies at this time don't address diversity. They are not addressing inclusion sufficiently or equity. I also would like to take this opportunity, which could be a contested statement, that when government recruits for any institution, again I refer to the health sector and the education sector, when they recruit, we are always so proud to say that this is based on merit. And there's a fundamental contradiction here. If you're going to only give weightage to merit in your recruitment, then you're not looking at all of these benchmarks that Mr. Zahid talked about today. The HR metrics. So we have to completely change the compass on this. Because merit cannot just be the marks that you got in your matriculation of O and A levels and intermediate in order to get into university. If that's what we are looking at, then we are not making space for inclusion and we are not making space for diversity or any of the other indicators. Now this is a very big challenge for Pakistan. Whether it is in the admissions or whether it is in the placement of people in the development sectors. Similarly, when government recruits, I have yet to see on the government score sheet marks assigned for diversity, inclusion, or equity. Marks are assigned for educational qualifications and experience and how they performed in the interview. So we have a lot of work to do here in terms of getting government sensitive to and appreciative of the fact that we need to look at other indicators apart from just a binary of education, qualifications and experience. At Zamist, I would like to say we've been making an effort. We have a DEI committee, which is pretty representative, and it's an unusual institution in many ways because our founder was a woman, Mohtarama Wazir. Our chairperson is a woman, our vice chancellor is a woman, I am the president, and the vice chancellor, and our chancellor is a woman. So we have 4 women leaders, and one of the 3 vice presidents, which are the pro-PCs, is also a woman. So we made an effort, but it's a long way to go before I can say that as a university, we really have embedded these benchmarks into our framework. Our curriculum has been designed quite mindfully. We had the honor and privilege of having Mr. Zahid Mubarak visit Zamist some time ago, and I think he laid a seed over there, which that we'll carry that forward. And we do embed DEI perspectives in some of our major flagship programs. But yet, as I said, we still do have a long way to go. And we also partner with ACCI and now PDB, which are your partners as well. Pakistan has already signaled its commitment, as Umayyad Azhar said, through global alignment, signatory to conventions, and through our constitutional promises. But policies don't create inclusion. In fact, most policies create exclusion. People create inclusion. Leadership creates inclusion and diversity. Choices that leaders make do that. Inclusion is not just about adding more chairs to the table. It's really about redesigning the table at leadership so that no one has to ask for a particular seat. The table has got space for that seat. People, of course, when they are valued, I think like Shahnaz said, and when they feel included, they transform organizations. The future of Pakistan will not be built by the best companies alone. It will be built by inclusive organizations. And the question for us all is not whether inclusion matters. The question is whether we are willing to change sufficiently and rapidly to make it matter. I would also like to make a few brief comments about some of the other data that I have for you. In the province of Sindh, the total percentage of women who make the workforce is only 22%. And one of the reasons for that, I know that the National Commission of Women has worked on it, is because our national labour statistics actually do not count all the women unless they're part of the formalized workforce. According to the latest figure of the Pakistan All Pakistan, the CSS exam, out of about 1.2 million employees in the federal government to go through that exam, less than 6% are actually women in leadership positions. Less than 6%. So if we ask ourselves, how many women have been chief secretaries of SINA? Not one. How many women have been secretary planning and development? How many women have been secretary finance, secretary interior, secretary home? It's not even 1% or 0.01%. So there is a lot that we really need to look at, and there is a great deal more that you can see in statistics. I'm just pinpointing the fact that while the corporate sector, particularly the corporate sector, tends to be a much more responsive organization, as do the development organizations, and I see Mr. Wazir sitting here, who heads Green Star. And I know that he's very, very committed to the fact that there should be equity and inclusion and diversity, and I've seen that happen at Green Star. So development organizations are much more responsive to societal needs. Private sector corporations are much more responsive. Unfortunately, government is not that responsive. And we really need to speak about government adopting some of these benchmarks and moving away from very rigid, outdated methodologies for selection and for placement. I think that the pathway before us is extremely challenging. And I would just like to stand by saying that my personal vision on DEI is a Pakistan where every woman can learn, earn, lead, and own as well. Learn, earn, lead, and own. And a country where women are represented not only in the classrooms, but in boardrooms, in the government, in the laboratories, and also where Pakistan represents itself globally, in international, at the seat on international organizations, Pakistan needs to see more and more women as the face of Pakistan. As we know, if we educate a woman, we transform a family. If we employ a woman, we strengthen the economy. If we empower women to lead, we transform a nation. Let us not ask whether women belong in the mainstream economy. Let us ask how quickly we can remove every barrier for them to become full-fledged partners in our economic, cultural, social progress to a prosperous nation. I want to thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to be here.